Hi, my name is Danielle Dixon, and thanks for letting me share about the process for my video. I will be doing a mini TED Talk about how poetry can pay off in this pandemic in our personal and professional lives. The setting for the video is in my home office. I actually had a lot of drawings from my kids on the wall, and I took them down so the space doesn't look too cluttered and disorganized. I also added an extra lamp in here so there's more lighting. Using feedback from previous discussions, and I'll try to be a bit more conversational and intimate in how I address the audience instead of being too formal. So, my TED Talk is about how important poetry can be in us getting through this pandemic. Um, Professionals mistakenly think that reading fiction is useless and it's better to read nonfiction. We want to gain knowledge, right? We read how-to books to create a side hustle, or magazines and articles on investing, or learning a new hobby to save money. We may also think that reading is a chore, and as a consequence, we assume writing is this art that only a few possess, not a skill that can be learned. And, that's not true. Studies show that reading fiction over nonfiction is better at expanding your mind because of the parts of the brain that is accessed. And specific to poetry, an MRI study on the brain showed the difference between reading prose like a novel versus reading poetry. Only poetry accesses both the left and the right side of the brain. So that's why I wanted to talk about poetry specifically. I think it's worth your brain to read poetry. You're literally expanding your mind. A lot of us in school suffered through poems that weren't relevant in our lives or the way we speak. However, as adults now, we can seek out poems that we like. Reading is meant to be pleasurable. Scientists used to think that humans only felt pleasure because of sensory cues, such as, eating really good food that tastes good, or, the feel of a fluffy blanket, for example. However, science shows now that, reading prose and poetry has that same pleasurable effect when we like what we read. So there are so many different types of poetry. We don't have to, read sonnets by Shakespeare written in the 16th century. There's spoken word poetry or slam poetry that highlights problems that we face today. Hip hop and rap can be seen as poetry as well. There are haikus that are only 17 syllables but pack a dramatic punch. All these different forms of poetry, they break down complex topics in a digestible format that can stir us. And ultimately, this connects to what we're learning in business communication because that is what we hope to do in our communication. We hope to take these big complex ideas and express it in a way, whether it's written communication or oral communication, we want to express it in a digestible way. So my call to action is we should let poetry be our competitive advantage. Read and reflect on poetry you like, and you will reap rewards in your professional and personal life. Thank you.